Good day, everyone. I'd like to welcome you back to the Bloody Fork Homestead. One of the things I'd like to share with you is just a little bit more about ourselves. You look at our YouTube channel, you may not know much about us, and I'd like to just kind of fill in a little bit as I introduce some episodes. But today I'd like to talk about some of our early years, because this is really when homesteading and gardening got into our blood. And I'll explain that as in just a few minutes. But one of the things that we did was we got married in 1977. Come to think of it, that's a couple years ago now, isn't it? 1977. I came from a Catholic home, and my wife, she came from a Lutheran home, and I came out of a drug background, and we both went through some changes because of what was known as the Jesus movement at that time. And we fell in love, we got married, and this was 1977. We were also at that time going to Bible college because I wanted to become a pastor, and my wife, she kind of followed me there. We were engaged while we both went to Fort Wayne Bible College. But then when we were married in 1977, I was a youth pastor at that time at a United Presbyterian Church, but we moved. We moved to Colorado Springs, Colorado. Back in the 70s, it was still a relatively small place. I mean, it was just a very small city. We spent some time there, kind of an extended honeymoon, but I knew we wanted to go back to finish college. So instead of going back to Fort Wayne, we decided to go to Columbia Bible College in Columbia, South Carolina. When we moved, the area of Columbia was experiencing some record heat. It was over 100. In fact, that particular summer, for many days during the summer, it was over 100. And we moved right in the midst of that. But we were able to finish college there. Also tried to do some gardening and tried to have some chickens. We lived, I was a youth pastor there. We lived in a little town called Swansea, South Carolina. Not Swansea, Australia. It was a little town. We were at a Baptist church there and tried to plant a garden on a sand hill, because it's basically all sand around there. And I remember buying 100 tomato plants from somebody and planting them, and they all died. We tried our hand at chickens, and something broke into our chickens, and they were all killed. So it wasn't too successful. But after Bible college, I pastored in 5 Mile, Ohio. 5 Mile, Ohio is in southern Ohio, in the town, it's in the county of Brown County, Ohio. And the reason it's called 5 Mile is because it was 5 miles from anywhere. We lived, there was a dairy farm there. And the dairy farmer, he donated a chunk of land, and we were able to put a mobile home on it. My brother, he was in the mobile home business, and we found one, we moved it there. And while we were there, I started a garden. So going from Swansea, where it was difficult to grow anything, to this spot in 5 Mile, Ohio, I realized that you could grow a garden. I mean, I don't care what I planted there. It grew like crazy. This happened to be a place where the dairy farmer would dump a lot of his manure. And I had silver queen corn growing up over our heads, and we have green beans that we couldn't keep up with to try to can, and all kinds of other things that we grew. And boy, what a great blessing that was. Our salary then was $200 a week. 200 hours a week. We had one child at that time. He was born in 1981. This was the early 80s. $200 a week was very, very little money. But we learned some things. We learned some things about frugality. We learned how to stretch dollars, and gardening was a part of that. It was also during that time that I began to catch a vision for organic gardening. Mother Earth News, when it came out at that time, was almost like a little magazine, no color pictures, but there were some interesting things in it. And organic gardening was just coming into popularity at that time, and we began to practice some of those things, like composting, and tried to be organic. But we learned some things. That's when gardening kind of got into our blood, and trying to live a frugal life. And you know, that's some of the motivation why some of you might be in homesteading. You're trying to live well, and you can live very well homesteading if you grow your own food and if you learn certain skills that will help you to be frugal. But that's a little bit more about where we've come from, and I hope to fill that in a little bit more as we continue with this channel. And I hope you'll glean some things from it as we experience, or we share our experience here in trying to tame our land, our homestead that sat vacant for so long, and try to make it productive. We recently sat down and we came up with our 20-year plan. We're still trying to hash it out, what that 20-year plan is. You say 20 years, you're 65. Yeah, I'm hoping that we'll have 20 years yet. We feel like we're healthy right now. We've lost weight. We have primarily a vegan type diet. We eat meat some every once in a while, but we feel healthy, and we hope to share with you some of that too, what we're trying to do. But thank you for being with me today, and I hope you'll continue to join us on this channel. We have a lot to share, a lot of experience, and I hope you can glean something from it for your experience. Thank you.